Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. More Tiger today, and we're going to sort out a couple more bits. First, we've got this metal machine gun. I've seen people complain it's not perfectly scale, and while I'm sure it isn't, I think it looks a whole lot better than the stock plastic one. The second bit is a metal driver's vision port. For some reason, Heng decided the stock one should be moulded in a permanently closed position, meaning the driver can't see where he's going. The metal part comes in two bits, so you can have it open. First, we need access to the back of the front armour, so the upper hull needs to come off. One of the more useful things Heng have done is to have the front armour a separate piece. All you have to do is carefully cut through the glue that holds it all together. Like the lights we swapped in the last episode, there isn't all that much glue, so it doesn't take a lot before you can pop the joints and remove the armour. We've got a couple of mods to do. The new machine gun is quite a bit bigger than the stock one, so we're going to need to drill out the hole. The vision port is a bit more tricky. We need to cut away the stock one flush to the front surface. When removed, it should look something like this. So the new port fits nicely. I've wet sanded the surface, which will also give the glue something to key into. Normally we would glue the new port straight in, but I've got another little widget I want to add, so we need to open a hole behind the vision port. While we do that, we can glue the bits together with the shutter in the open position, and give it a chance to harden up so it's not constantly falling apart. Right, I'm going to mark the front of the hull so I know where to cut, and a quick zip with the Dremel, and we've got ourselves a little opening. To fit the new port, we'll use a few spots of medium sino around the edge. Being very careful not to use too much, we only want to glue the port to the armour and not stick the armour to the hull. When it's dry, the armour can come off again. It's a bit tricky to get it out, but give it a good wiggle and it'll just pop out. The machine gun barrel is 3.5mm in diameter, so we need to carefully drill out the hole to fit. Since the armour leans back ever so slightly, I'm going to angle the hole a little to make the barrel level. The stock one points up a bit. Well, it fits, but it doesn't quite stick out far enough. The barrel has a step in it that houses the LED. To make it a better fit, we can drill the back of the hole with a 6mm bit and clear out the plastic. We need to be really careful though, we don't want to overdo it. Now the barrel fits just far enough that the vent holes clear the plastic. Much better. To hold it in, I'm going to use a couple of blobs of hot glue, which we should be able to remove later if we need to. Which brings us to this. It's an 8-channel LED chaser and a little board with 8 LEDs. It's just the right size to fit in behind the slot in the vision port. The idea is, when it's turned off, you'd never know it was there to keep the scale people happy, but for a bit of silliness, we've got a nice set of discrete blinking lights. The front armour is all set to go back in now. It's a bit tricky to get the vision port over the deflector. You could shorten the posts on the back, but with a bit of a wiggle it will go in. The LED chaser PCB needs to be secured to the upper hull. It doesn't need anything fancy, just a little bit of servo tape. The front armour needs to get glued back in too. A spot of medium sino will do the job, one spot on the 3 posts while firmly holding it in position. While that dries, we can work on everybody's favourite, the wiring. There's not too much to do, and most of it's pretty self-explanatory. First, we need to unplug the connectors from the little connector board and remove it from the hull. Now we can see how the stock machine gun LED connects to the pins of the unpopulated connector. Black wire on the edge and the red wire on the 3rd pad. With the board fairly well secured, we can tidy up the soldering. First, we heat up the joint and remove the stock LED, then heat them up again and sweep away the wire ends we left in the last video, just in case one of them manages to bridge the pads. Since there's quite a bit of solder on the pads now, I'm going to remove some of the excess, which leaves us with a nice, clean and tidy board. Now we can cut the new machine gun wires to length, remembering to keep them a little bit longer than we need, as it's easier to make them shorter if we need to, rather than extend them. Strip the ends, tin the bare wire, clamp the board in some pliers and solder the wires in place, remembering the red wire goes on the 3rd pad and the black wire on the edge. The connector board can go back in along with the connectors. There will be a little bit of cable management to do at some point, probably after the outside gets painted. One more bit of soldering to do. We need to connect the chaser PCB to the light controller. The two boards are clearly marked with a plus and a minus symbol, so it's pretty obvious which goes where. When I get a chance to build a few of each board and put them up on the store, they'll have connectors optionally fitted. And worst case, the Chaser PCB has polarity protection, so if you do manage to get them backwards, it won't damage anything. There we go then, all the connections have been made, all visually inspected. All that's left is to test to see if it actually works. Big connector to the RX-18 along with the BB connector, and the servo connector from the light controller to the FlySky receiver. The transmitter's on, the battery's connected, so we can turn on the tank. Turn on the engine, and let's see if the machine gun works. Well, with the LED so far back down a metal tube, the light level from this angle isn't great. We might need to fit some clear plastic rod down the bore. From straight on though, it's really bright. Nice. Now the best bit, if we use the switch on the lights channel normally, the headlights turn on and off, as you might expect, which is nice. But if we flick the switch on and off quickly, the LED chaser turns on. Perfect. Of course, you can turn the chaser on and off whether the headlights are on or not. The two channels on the light controller are fully independent. And, as I'd hoped, with the chaser off, you'd never know it was there. I suppose all that's left now is the traditional run up and down the garden path. Next time we might have a look at some of the transmitter mods, or perhaps work on making the turret controls fully proportional. But it would be nice to have the backlight first, so we can actually see the LCD to set things up. I've got another plane that's waiting for the first flight, so we could look at that to break things up a bit. Yeah, anyway, as always, thanks for watching. If you like the video, do please hit the like button, and if you're not already, don't forget you can subscribe to get RC Mojo videos in your subscription feed. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll never miss a video. Except when YouTube messes up, in which case you can follow us on Twitter, where a link goes out when the next video goes live. Until next time, bye guys.